Welcome everyone. My name is Vadim DiPietro. I'm a professor in the finance area at Desautels, and I'm also the Chief Investment Officer at Desautels Capital Management, which is our student-run investment management fund. So I'm a professor in the finance area and the Chief Investment Officer at Desautels Capital Management, which plays a very large role in the MMF program. And I'll be telling you more about that in a few moments. The goal of this information session is to give you a better idea of what our program is all about, make sure that it's right for you. So first of all, McGill obviously has a very good international reputation. So it's known across the world, very good, finance reputation in particular. So we've done very good in the rankings, both as a university and in terms of our finance area, we have the highest per capita research productivity in Canada. And so our faculty are very much involved in, cutting edge research in the field. We have a very broad, network of alumni, and some of these alumni come and speak to our students in our pro seminar series, which I'll tell you more about in a few moments as well. In terms of the MMF program rankings, we've alternated between ranking number 1 and number 2 in Canada over the years. And, we've even placed number 1 in North America, according to some ranking surveys. So why do the MMF? So this is a program for students who are really passionate about wanting to, pursue a career in finance. And it's a broad program that covers many different areas of finance, including investment banking, asset management, corporate finance, consulting, fintech. So, there are some other finance programs that offer a bit more kind of specialized education on maybe exclusively risk management or some, math finance programs. But this is kind of a broad program that gives you exposure to all different areas of finance. And we're looking for students, from a variety of different backgrounds. And, one thing that's kind of always interested me in the world of finance is the variety of backgrounds that are relevant to the world of finance. Myself, for example, I come from an engineering background, and we have students from a variety of different backgrounds in our program: economics, engineering, science, math, management, finance, of course. And we're looking for students, with kind of a proven track record of excellence, but it can be in a variety of different backgrounds. And what we do in this program is give you the comprehensive training that you need, for a very competitive, financial job market. So, it is very competitive. These are very lucrative positions that a lot of people are competing for. So you really do need to get the right training, and that's what we offer in this program. We have had students go on and pursue PhDs in finance, but that is typically, the exception. Most of our students in this program are looking to become practitioners, and that's how the course is designed. Most students will complete this course in 1 year, but there are options, and some students complete it in 16 months. So some students take internships. So for example, right now in the winter semesters, we had some students leaving the program and going to do a work internship, and then they come back afterwards to complete what they've missed. In some cases, we have students that will be doing their master's thesis project in the summer, and then they will leave their master's thesis to be completed after the summer. So most students will complete all their coursework and their master's thesis by around April, and then they graduate, by April, May. Some other students will delay the master's thesis until after the summer, and that allows them to qualify for certain internships that are only available for returning students. And so some students prefer to delay the submission of their master's thesis until after that internship, and those students are then completing their program in 16 months as well. But I would say most students complete it in 1 year. It is a very intensive program. No work experience is required. In fact, we provide work experience. Our MMF program is based on 4 key pillars. So first of all, investment training through your coursework. Second, and perhaps most interestingly, the opportunity to, run a real investment management company, Desautels Capital Management, and I'll tell you a bit more about that in a few moments. And number three, the ability, to really focus on your professional skills and develop a professional network. We place a lot of importance on that in the program. And finally, it's a fairly exclusive education. If you kind of look at the number of students in the program, which is, around 50, 55 students compared to the amount of faculty and support staff that are involved in the program, you really are getting, personalized education, including at Desautels Capital Management. I have a lot of kind of, individual meetings with, small sector teams. So, yeah. Okay, so I'll now go into a bit more detail on all of these points. First of all, though, in general, why do the MMF? So, in terms of the skills that we're looking for, the type of students that we're looking for, and what we aim to provide, first of all, in terms of technical skills. So we are looking for students, with, strong quantitative, analytical, critical thinking skills, because that's, very important in all areas of finance. We don't need students to have, very high level, mathematical skills. There are certain areas of finance where you do need, graduate level mathematics, and there are, for example, some, financial engineering programs where you would need much more advanced math knowledge to go into those programs, but not in this program. This is kind of a more broad program, and we would kind of be helping you improve those quantitative analytical skills within the MMF program. So we do cover, quantitative material, derivatives, fixed income, but we would kind of give you those skills within the program, help you build your technical skills, including programming skills as well. In terms of practical experience, none is required. In fact, you gain practical experience as working as an analyst at Desautels Capital Management. All students automatically, are part of Desautels Capital Management, and I'll expand on that in a few moments. Just to be clear, that's an unpaid position, but the experience you get out of that is really, amazing, and it's also very important, for your CV to build that experience. In terms of professional skills, we're looking for students that have a lot of, passion for finance, a lot of energy, students in particular who can multitask and handle, many different things going on at the same time. It is a very intensive program, and that should not be taken lightly. So in terms of other professional skills, we're looking for students with good communication skills. So in fact, as part of the application process, if we accept your application, then before you get admitted to the program, there's an interview process with either myself or another professor in the program. And these interviews, are designed partially to assess your communication skills, your level of enthusiasm, and also to learn more about you and your experiences. In terms of these interviews, if you do have a finance background, then you might be, asked some finance related questions. If you're coming with a non-finance background, we're not going to ask you finance related questions, but we may ask you questions, from your experience on your CV, or some questions related to, the coursework that you would have done in your program. So we're looking for students with good communication skills, and we try to build on that within the program, whether it's in the courses or at Desautels Capital Management. There's a lot of presentations, class presentations, and so we're kind of fine-tuning your communication skills, written reports as well. So both written and verbal communication skills is something that we work on, which is extremely important in the job market. In terms of the, placements of our students, we are quite happy with how our students have placed. So you can see a number of companies where our students have placed historically. Some of our students get full-time positions once they graduate. Some of our students get internships. This depends to a certain extent on what kind of background you're coming in with. So students who are coming in with, more experience, either work experience or a stronger financial education background, they may be more likely to secure full-time employment, whereas some students who are coming with much more limited experience might be more likely to secure an internship as their first job after the program. But there are certainly students coming in with no finance experience at all who have also gotten full-time employment after the program. So things have been going fairly well in terms of our job placement, and I would say even very well so far. In terms of the program structure, so as I mentioned, there's many different things going on at the same time. So coursework begins, near when you join the program, the coursework starts almost immediately. You're also managing funds at Desautels Capital Management. There's also the master's thesis, your research project that is ongoing. That starts off lightly in the fall and then really picks up in the winter semester. We also have seminars, our pro seminar series that are ongoing on a approximately weekly or biweekly basis. There's also case competitions that we try to encourage our students to participate in. We also front load some workshops. For example, we have workshops on programming skills, in particular Python. So that's becoming more and more important in industry. And so we want to make sure our students are coming out with strong programming skills. I lead a workshop on investment analysis for Desautels Capital Management. So there's an intensive kind of base camp, getting students from, basically scratch to a point where they can do a stock pitch after, maybe a month of rigorous training. We also front load accounting workshops, which is also very important in finance and also for your role at Desautels Capital Management when you're looking at what stocks to invest and how you analyze financial statements. And finally, there's also the job market search, which is ongoing throughout the program. So in fact, in some cases, this may even start, earlier than September, and it's ongoing throughout the years. There's job openings kind of continuously. So you have to make sure that you can handle, multitasking, that you really do have capacity to take on a lot of work. Okay, going into a bit more detail on the coursework. So the coursework is divided into 6 modules, and each module is approximately 6 weeks long. So typically there will be 5 weeks of classes and then an exam in the 6th week. And typically you'll have classes Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, approximately 2 hours in the morning, like 10 to 12, and then 2 hours in the afternoon, 1 to 3. This is just approximate, can vary from semester. So that's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, whereas Wednesday would be reserved for Desautels Capital Management. And these courses are designed to be, very interactive and, kind of to, mimic what practitioners would do. So of course, always with a very, rigorous theoretical foundation, but always with an eye on how is this information used by practitioners in the real world, because, this is a program that is supposed to train you for, working in industry. And to that end, a lot of these classes will be using a lot of the same, infrastructure that are used by industry professionals. So for example, Bloomberg terminals. Within your courses, a lot of the material will be based on, real world cases. In some cases that industry professionals will kind of come and share, and you'll kind of, be asked to kind of go through what they would have gone through in their past experiences. So yeah, we try to make it as kind of, applied as possible, but with also a rigorous theoretical foundation. In terms of kind of quantitative nature of these classes, some of them are more quantitative than others, but in general, they would be more quantitative than you would have seen in equivalent undergraduate programs. So at this point, I should probably mention that if you've done a full major in finance, then some of the early material that you would see in some of these courses might be stuff that you've already seen, a bit of review. because this program is also designed for students with no background in finance. So there is a bit of overlap with some of the material you would have seen in a finance major program undergrad. But then we go into, things in a lot more detail. So you're going to be seeing things that you would not have seen in your undergrad program. Okay, so that's a little comment on the courses. Now, Desautels Capital Management. So myself and another professor, Professor Jiro Kondo, we kind of oversee Desautels Capital Management, which is a proper investment management company. So we are fully registered with the securities regulators. We are owned by McGill University, but we are a proper incorporated separate legal entity. We have our own board of directors. And what we do at Desautels Capital Management is that we manage 4 investment funds where there are investors, multiple investors in each of these 4 funds. And 2 of these funds are managed by MMF students, and that would be the Alpha Squared and the SRI fund, Socially Responsible Investing Fund. We do have 2 other funds, and those are managed by our undergraduate students in a different program. The master's programs actually manage the larger funds. So the Alpha Squared Fund has $2.5 million, as does the Socially Responsible Investing Fund. And in terms of the investment philosophy for these funds, the Alpha Squared Fund is based on a combination of quantitative investment strategies as well as fundamental analysis, whereas the Socially Responsible Investing Fund is based on a combination of fundamental analysis as well as what are called ESG factors, environmental, social, and governance factors, which is becoming more and more important in the world of investment management. Students in the MMF program manage both of these funds, the Alpha Squared and SRI fund. And the way it works is that students are grouped into equity sectors. So for example, we would have 4 students in the healthcare sector, 4 students in the energy sector, 4 students in the technology sector, and so on and so forth. So there's several different equity sectors, and students specialize by sector. In fact, once you're admitted to the program, I right away ask people to start thinking about what sector they would like to join and already start developing their expertise in that sector. And in fact, that's something I recommend to all students, even students who are not pursuing a master's degree. I always recommend, day 1 of my intro to finance class for undergraduate students in their first year, I tell them it's a good idea to start developing an expertise in a particular equity sector that is of interest to you. Start following, companies in that sector, look at their annual reports. When they have quarterly earnings announcements, listen to the analyst calls. What are the analysts asking the company? What are the answers? Follow the stock prices and read as much as you can and develop an expertise on a particular sector or subsector that is of interest to you. For example, renewable energy, or maybe gaming, or other sectors as well. So even though you specialize by sector, and in general, we're able to give students their first choice of sector. That's usually how it works. Occasionally, students may have to go with their second choice, but usually they get their first choice. Even though you're specializing on your own equity sector, you get exposure to all sectors because you listen to other students' presentations as well. So everyone specializes in a sector, and these sectors are then responsible for coming up with stock pitches, basically recommendations for stocks to add to either the Alpha Squared Fund or the SRI Fund. Now, the Alpha Squared Fund also uses quantitative investment strategies. So in order for a stock to be available, to be eligible for investment in the Alpha Squared Fund, it has to pass a quantitative screen. Currently, the quantitative screen that we're using is based on a machine learning algorithm that's developed by one of our professors here at Desautels, Professor Ruslan Goyenko. He's one of the world leaders in terms of artificial intelligence for investment strategies. And so we're using that model to screen stocks, and that model kind of reduces the universe of stocks on which we can then do fundamental analysis. So we're always doing fundamental analysis, but then there's overlays of quantitative investment strategies for the alpha squared fund, and for the SRI fund, there's an overlay of thinking about these environmental, social, and governance criteria. So all students will get exposure to quantitative strategies as well as socially responsible investing, these ESG factors. Some students can focus more attention on those things. So for example, we also have special teams. So in addition to everyone being part of a sector, you have the opportunity to be part of a special team. One of our special teams is in fact the quant strategy team, and they focus more deeply on developing new quant strategies, working with Professor Goyenko, better understanding these artificial intelligence models or other models as well. We have another team called the sustainability team, and this would be for students who are particularly interested in learning more about socially responsible investing and these environmental, social, and governance factors. Other special teams that we have are the econ team, and here students are making presentations to the class on economic growth, inflation, monetary policy, fiscal policy, labor market. So we're getting kind of macro updates from the econ team. And another special team that we have is risk management. We have a marketing team, and we have other kind of admin special teams focused on compliance. And so, at Desautels Capital Management, you learn about investing, but you also learn about how to run an investment management company and everything else that goes along with it, including things like, communication with clients, marketing, financial statements, regulation, compliance. In fact, students who join DCM have to read through a compliance manual that I send you, and that's interesting because by kind of reading that compliance manual, you learn a lot about the regulatory environment in which the investment management field operates. And so compliance is very important, and you learn a lot about that working at Desautels Capital Management. Okay, so yeah, you learn about how trades are processed, how trades are settled, the interaction between the broker, custodian. So you learn, more than just about investing. You learn about, running a company. We also have opportunities for leadership roles. So each of these special teams that I mentioned, econ, risk management, they each have a head of the team. And that's important not only because of the additional information that you're going to learn through those leadership roles, but it's always good to be able to have a leadership role, for your job interview process on your resume. That's what employers are looking for, leaders. So we do have a lot of opportunities for students to become leaders in different ways in our program. Okay. In terms of study trips, we also have some really fun study trips. Historically, we've gone to New York. More recently, the past 3 years, it's been to London. And here's an opportunity for students to meet industry professionals at all major, financial institutions where we have alumni, Goldman Sachs, et cetera. And so you get to learn a little bit about what those, jobs are all about. You get to learn about what's going on right now in the financial markets from industry professionals themselves who are facing these issues. And you also get an opportunity to present your work to them and get feedback. And it's an amazing networking opportunity as well, just building your professional network by meeting all of these people on that study trip. And on top of all that, it's obviously a very fun trip. Students really love it. And that's optional, but most of our students choose to go on these international study trips. Now turning our attention to the master's thesis research project. And so this is done either individually or with classmates in groups of 2 or 3 students. In all cases, you would be closely supervised by a faculty member, by a professor, and they would be giving you guidance throughout that process. And the idea here is for you to pick a topic that is of interest to you, that perhaps might help you in the job market or your future career, and really develop an expertise on that particular topic. And the topics can really be anything at all related to finance. Some students have done strategies related to investment strategies. Some students have done projects on perhaps analyzing stock prices around certain corporate events like mergers and acquisitions. I've had some groups work with me on, for example, socially responsible investing within private equity funds. And so some of these projects can be more quantitative, some can be more qualitative. It might seem a bit intimidating, but all of our students get through this. Obviously, it is quite a bit of work, but with the guidance of the faculty members, all our students, get through this and kind of develop a deep understanding of that particular topic. I should also say that occasionally we have had companies, come in and actually pay students to work on a project that is useful to that company, and that counts as your master's project. So we have had that, but that is, I would say, the exception. So, you should not count on that, but that has happened from time to time. So that is the research project. Now turning to the pro seminar series. So this is where we have industry professionals, in some cases alumni of the MMF program, or generally alumni of Desautels more generally, and they come in and they share their experiences, talk about deals that they've recently worked on, explain in general the type of work that they do. And it's really great to learn from people who are actually working in the field right now, and it's also an opportunity to build your network. So as I've kind of emphasized a few times already, we do place a lot of importance on helping students find jobs, and a big part of that is building your professional network. And so we have a mix of kind of more junior and more senior industry professionals coming in and sharing their experiences with our students. Case competitions, that's another opportunity for you to kind of put theory to practice, what you learned in the classroom, put that to practice to kind of real world case scenarios. And it's also a lot of fun to kind of participate in these case competitions. They range across risk management, investment banking, equity research and analysis. So there's many different case competitions. We've done quite well historically. So for example, at the CFA Research Challenge, which is an equity research project, we've had students win the regional competition. And one thing that stands out to me is that one of the judges, who gave feedback to our students, said that their stock pitch was the best that they had ever seen, including from industry professionals. So we do kind of produce really high quality work at Desautels Capital Management. I'm not going to say that every single piece of work that we do at Desautels Capital Management is the best that anyone's ever seen, but some of the stuff that we do is really great. And if you're motivated, then this is a really great program for you to be able to reach your full true potential. Case competitions also a good networking opportunity. A lot of the judges are potential employers. So it's another opportunity to meet even more people. Another thing that we really place a lot of emphasis is helping students with career prep and navigating the job market. So we have some really dedicated individuals in our career services team who are really focused exclusively on the MMF program, and they have, first of all, group workshops helping students with things like preparing their CV and their cover letter, which needs a lot of work in most cases, helping students understand what the landscape of the financial world is all about. So you may be aware of some jobs that are available out there, but there's many more that students are not even aware of. So our career services team kind of exposes students to all that. We have psychometric tests where students kind of answer a survey, and then we can give students some guidance on, based on your interest and your skill set, what types of jobs would be ideally suited for you. Not only do we have these kind of group workshops, but we also give a lot of one-on-one attention to our students, for example, through mock interviews. So we have students do mock interviews with our career services staff Not only that, we have volunteers, alumni from the program who volunteer to come in and, do mock interviews with our students. We have job fairs. So for example, right now, our MMF cohort is on a trip to Toronto, and they're going to be meeting with a lot of, potential employers there as well. So that's something that we really try to emphasize, because of course we know that students in this program, that's what they're interested in, learning the material to get good jobs. In terms of the tuition, you see the numbers in front of you. So obviously, program like this, quite expensive, approximately, $60,000 plus some additional fees. And I do want to highlight that, this should not be taken lightly as a life decision. It is a lot of tuition. And I would say that if you are serious about this kind of program, you're willing to put a lot of work in, you're passionate about finance, you really love finance, then it makes sense to spend, this kind of money at our program or other similar programs, because of course, if you do get, a job in the financial sector, they're very high paying and you can justify this cost. But it's not something to be taken lightly, because just getting into this kind of program doesn't guarantee you a job. It's hard work to get a job. If you have a lot of passion for finance and you put in a lot of work, then you can most likely get those jobs. But I just want to emphasize that, you should not kind of enter this kind of program casually. So just think about that very carefully. Okay. As you can see, even though it's an expensive program, we are quite competitive compared to the costs of other similar programs. And even though, we're at the lower end in terms of cost, I would say that I feel comfortable saying that, we're the top program in the world, according to myself. And I'm generally not someone who kind of exaggerates on these kind of things, but I'll tell you why I really feel strongly about the quality of our program and how it differentiates from other programs. First of all, the unique opportunity to work at Desautels Capital Management and manage real money, a lot of real money, in a real company. So this is not, kind of just managing internal funds. We're actually managing funds from external investors. So this is a proper real investment management company, and you get real experience as a result. No one takes this more seriously than we do at Desautels Capital Management. The amount of effort we put in to help students in this particular role, I think, is unmatched in any other program. And I think, based on student experiences, they're generally very happy with what they get out of Desautels Capital Management. So that's kind of unique. It also allows you to put that on your CV. Work experience, equity research analyst, Desautels Capital Management. It counts because of the work that you do is very real. So that's number one, Desautels Capital Management. I would say another strong point of our program is how passionate our professors are with the quality of their teaching. So they really care about, sharing their knowledge with students, and they care about, doing well in their teaching. They also like to get good, evaluations on their teaching, but, they really care about students and the quality of their teaching. And I would say third, the career services prep, we really do place an emphasis on that. And then fourth, I should also mention that we have a very strong administrative support team. The program directors, we have Lauren with us today and Felicia. Also, Emily is another one. So we have really a very strong team of people that help students throughout the master's program. So there's a lot of moving parts going on, and it can get quite complicated. We have a very strong support staff that are really dedicated to helping, students navigate that sometimes complicated process. Okay, so I do kind of, I am quite proud with, our program. This is just a slide kind of showing you salaries of, different positions, but you're probably aware of that more than myself, that, jobs in this industry, do pay quite well. If we look at the profile of some of our recent cohorts. The main message here is that we're attracting very strong students from across the world with high GPAs, high GMAT or GRE scores. We have a good mixture of men and women, a very diverse group from all parts of the world, speaking many different languages. Some students are coming in with some work experience, some students with much less work experience. As I mentioned previously, no work experience is required. You gain work experience in the program. One of the benefits of our program is learning from other students. So not only are you learning from myself and other professors, but when you're paired with other students, you get to learn, from them as well. For example, this year we had a student in our energy sector who had a lot of work experience in that particular sector. And so they were able to share their experiences with other students in the energy sector. So, maybe some students have more sector specific knowledge. Maybe some students worked in, let's say, pharmacology, and they're covering the healthcare sector, but maybe they don't have a strong finance background. They might be paired with another student in that sector who has a very strong finance background and interest in healthcare, but doesn't have any work experience in healthcare. So that student would kind of share their finance knowledge, and the other student would kind of share their industry specific knowledge. And so you learn a lot from each other. Having said that, if you join this program, there is a responsibility for you to share your knowledge with other students. And so this is not the type of program where you just join and you kind of absorb and learn. You're also expected to contribute to other students' learnings. And by doing so, when everyone does that, that's how everyone gets the most out of the program. I should also mention that these are just averages, and that in terms of the students we accept, there is a wide range. So I believe the cutoff is perhaps 3.0 for the minimum GPA requirement. Someone can correct me if it's 3.3. Can't remember if it's 3.3 or 3.0. So we do have a limit, but that's quite a bit below the average. And we have had students with a wide range of GPAs and GMATs coming in to the program. Of course, if your GPA is a bit lower, you have to compensate with something else. And we evaluate not only your GPA and your GMAT, but your background as a whole. We assess your package as a whole, your essays that you write, your CV as well. So we have no minimum test score requirement. And I'll say a little bit more about the application process in just a second. So of course we do require a undergraduate degree, but it can be in a variety of different fields. No work experience, standard application. So there's an essay where you kind of have to explain your motivation for applying to the program, what makes you well suited for the program, what kind of things have you done in your past, that kind of demonstrate a track record of excellence. What are you trying to get out of the program? 2 letters of reference. They can be either academic or professional references. There's no preference on our behalf. We're just looking for people who can attest to some of your prior achievements. Of course, we need your transcripts. So we do look at grades. I should say that we do kind of take into account what school and program you're coming from. So if you're coming from a more prestigious university where the average quality of students is a lot higher, then we take that into account in your application as well. Same in terms of the program. So we know that even within a given university, some programs might be more difficult to get into. So we kind of try to make adjustments for that when looking at grades. So we don't just look at grades blindly. We do take that into account. In terms of the either GMAT or GRE, so we do require that absolutely if you are coming from a non-Canadian university. If your undergraduate studies is from a Canadian university, then you do not have to write the GMAT or GRE. If you want to, you can. If you think it's going to improve your application, you're welcome to write it and submit it. But If you are coming from a non-Canadian university, then there's no exceptions. We need either the GMAT or GRE. It's just necessary in us to better compare students from across the world. If you're coming from a non-English speaking institution, then we also require proof of English proficiency. And you can have a look at the link here with a bit more details on what is required. You can kind of just do a Google search for that, and McGill University, what the proficiency requirements are. So here we have just three of our program directors, Lauren, Cynthia, and Emily. Cynthia is actually currently on maternity leave. We have Felicia, who is online with us today, and she's covering for Cynthia during that period. If you have any additional questions that ever come up, feel free to email mmf@mcgill.ca, and someone